If you are going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce and are contemplating what that might mean to you in purchasing or selling real estate, got a special guest for you today, Kristine Edens. Hey, I'm Nate Carver, your favorite mortgage guy. On this episode of Between Two Doors, we are talking about divorce in real estate.
Hey, I'm Nate Carver, and welcome to Between Two Doors.
Hi, Kristine. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Nate?
I'm good.
Good.
I've got a bunch of questions for you. It comes up on the lending side whenever I'm writing loans, and I'll see stuff like child support, and or I'll have a conversation with people that are looking to buy a home, and they have gone through a divorce, or they're in the middle of a divorce, and those are can be some challenging times to navigate through, but a having a great realtor like yourself on their team and a great lender on their team can really help get them through the housing piece in their life. So I wanted to talk to you about that. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your background and your position in this, and then I'll jump into a whole bunch of questions.
Sure. Kristine Edens, and I've been in real estate since 2015 with JPAR, formerly known as JP and Associates, and we just kind of shortened it down to JPAR. Been with them ever since uh, I started, and been in divorce real estate, specializing in divorce real estate for about 4 years now. 4 years now. I have my designation of RCSD, which is Real Estate Collaboration Specialist Divorce. So we did go through the training and learn how to handle specific divorce cases with real estate.
What's sparked the your journey into the divorce real estate expertise?
Well, I think, real estate in itself can be really challenging. Selling and buying homes is challenging in itself. But it comes even more complicated and more difficult when you're going through a divorce and you have a home to sell. The emotions and and the finances involved with that. There's not a lot of people that specialize in it, and it's unfortunate when it happens, but it's just so much more difficult at the same time. And I saw a need for it, so I went and got the training.
Good. Did you what do people not realize about how the divorce and real estate intersect? Do you see it? Is it it's frequent? I mean, I know the divorce rates nationally about 50%.
hmm Yeah. Uh, Um, I think people just assume things when they're going through a real estate and they have a house, they own a house, and they're like, oh, well, I'll just stay here. My husband can leave, and life will go on. And
Right.
it's not that easy. And there's so many challenges as far as who can keep it, who can't, what happens with the equity. There's so many moving pieces to it. So it's not oh, I'll just stay here. He can leave, or vice versa. Um,
Right.
yeah, it just doesn't happen that way most times.
Yeah. It's not about just houses or housing. It's, people making big
Mm-hmm.
decisions during one of the hardest seasons in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you're here to help them navigate this portion of it.
Yeah.
Let's say, what emotions do you most often see when someone's they calls and they're in the midst of their divorce?
Oh, despair, helplessness, confusion, anger, depression, anxiety. Um, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I afford this? There's just so many aspects to it that it's just a lot of things that people don't realize, and you just um, got to help them with their emotions.
Right. Uh,
Yeah.
So are you seeing, I guess if we're taking it from an emotional standpoint, what kind of mistakes are you seeing that are driving, if it's purely emotional,
Mhm.
um, you're seeing mistakes that you can help navigate or prevent from happening?
Mhm. There are a lot of people that want to get vindictive. They're so
Yeah.
mad at their spouse. And there's just so much raw emotion developing and arguing and bickering. And so I see a lot of people that they just want to get back at their spouse, and they're going to do it any way they can. And vengeful, hateful, and they just stop reasoning, and they just stop thinking logically, and they'll make a lot of mistakes just because out of spite. Uh,
Mhm.
and I see that a lot.
Are you doing anything to help them maybe take a step back or slow things down a little bit to get more
Mhm.
grounded?
Yeah,
Start making more rational decisions. Is
yeah.
that
That's where a lot of our training comes in, is dealing with the emotion and the anxieties and the anger. And you really have to take the time to sit down with them and explain to them, look, I, I, I understand what you're going through and I hear you. However, you know, let's take a step back, let's take a breath and think about this rationally. So I kind of step in and say, okay, I understand. However, um, we need to think about this logically and step outside and look in, and hopefully they'll see the mistakes that they're making or about to make.
okay?
And
So
it's it's really hard to get them to do that.
I can imagine. And they may be justified and they could be 100% right in
Yeah.
um, trying to being in the middle of it, and then
Hmm.
I guess focusing on what a future can be and
Yeah.
seeing what that can look like past this moment in time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, let's talk about the marital home. There's some big questions there.
Mhm.
Who gets it? There's the equity. Can you afford it? Those are some big core things that maybe litigation may not know right off, but when it comes, when a couple owns a home together, what are the usual options that you know about when you're talking about the marital home and
Sure.
dissolve?
Well, most often than not, the wife would like to stay, simply because women have a more emotional attachment to the homes than usually men do.
Okay.
Especially if you have children, they have friends in the neighborhood. They've gone to school there. The wife has friends in the neighborhood. So it's a lot harder for the women to let go of the home, I think it is, than for the men to do so. So they're going to have much more of an attachment to that. However, they need to understand, and this is where financial planners come in and the lenders come into play, as well as myself, and say, can you afford to live here after
Mhm.
divorce? Here's your monthly payment. Here's the upkeep. Are there things wrong with it? I always recommend get an inspection, get an inspector, have the house inspected, and identify what's wrong with the house. And
Yeah.
then I go and help, let the attorneys on both sides know, okay, here's some issues with the home. These, if they're going to sell it, they both decide to sell it, then these have to get repaired. And they're going to have to split the cost of the
Mhm.
repairs. Um, if she wants to,
Now, oh, go ahead.
no, if she wants to stay in it, it would be wise to have this done and have this repaired, and work with their attorneys on getting, this part of it fixed during, mediation or whatever, so that she doesn't have that expense after the divorce is final. And, she may not have the funds immediately available, after the divorce. So it's best to get these things done while you're in the mediation and have the attorneys. And that's where I come in and help to identify some of these problems. And a lot of
Right.
people don't think about that. They don't think
So
they have an inspection while they're going through a divorce.
is it court order at that point, or is it potentially before there's a court order involved? Um, I guess it could be both. You
Mm,
you see both scenarios, I'm sure.
I
So
have, if it's a pretty decent divorce and they're able to talk and work things out, usually they're able to either through their attorneys or through a mediator, identify the areas and problems of the home sale, the home condition, and they can both work at it at a fair rate, and get it resolved. I've
yeah,
had a few cases where it was really nasty. It was bad. And they were
yeah,
just at each other's throats. And I had to step in and, just say, okay, we're taking the couple out of it because they're just beyond help right now. And,
right,
that's when I just reach out to the attorney and say, okay, here's the issue. And then, this is what we're going to need to resolve it one way or the other based on which way the divorce is going.
right.
Who's getting it, are they selling it, whatever.
So if they sell the home, um, if there's you know a court order involved, the
Hmm.
division of the asset or the I guess the net proceeds
Hmm.
um, would be followed by the court order, or those net assets would be
Yeah, the
divvied
decree will
out.
tell them, what
Yeah,
they need to do with the house in the final decree. It'll be like, okay, wife gets to stay. Husband will buy out his, she has to buy out his portion, and she may not have the money up front to do that right away. So
right,
she may have to give up some assets like 401ks, retirement stocks, whatever. And he may get more of that in lieu of her having to pay him to
right.
keep the home. But usually with the court orders, those are only going to happen when they can't speak to each other. The attorneys are just getting nowhere. And then
Yeah,
one attorney might file a petition with the judge and say, look, we need assistance from you to get this done. And we need
right,
a court order to, whatever.
right. And that may
Yeah.
be there would be either the spouse might one of the spouses might buy the other one out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, that takes either that's a cash option or we're doing a refi to get somebody off of a mortgage and off of
Mm-hmm.
title,
Mm-hmm.
or they may retain title. You know, there
Mm-hmm.
could be a scenario where someone assumes the mortgage, um, or they do a refinance. Maybe they don't. Maybe they get someone off the mortgage, but they may not sell. And so
Mm-hmm.
there could be a temporary co-ownership for a sale date sometime to be determined into the future.
Right.
Um, so there's a couple of different ways to go to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what determines which options make sense? have you seen, is it if they're amicable to each other, does that help? Or if it, I mean, you're figuring out whether to sell the home or to refinance the home and keep it for one of the borrow or one of the, one of the spouses, um, or doing a temporary co-ownership. Have you seen some things that will help kind of determine that?
I've seen them all, really. I've had one where the spouses were just at each other. And I kind of had to be the referee, keep them both in their on their own sides. And they just had to sell the house. Yeah, they
Mm,
weren't going to agree on anything. And so both of the attorneys, said, nobody could really afford to take the house and buy the other person out. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, we just got to sell the house. And then, we're going to split the equity, 50-50, let's say.
yeah,
And so that's what we did. And, we put the house up for sale and assisted them with that. And that's probably the easiest way to sell a house during a divorce. It's, just sell it, put it on the market 50-50 when we're done and buy, and
mhm,
that's the best case scenario when you're going through a divorce and you have real estate. Um, and that, but it does get more complicated if the wife wants to stay because of the kids and the schools and their friends and things like that. And then the husband's like, okay, well, that's fine. But now she's got to think, and that's where lenders and financial planners come in, is can she afford to stay there?
right.
Um, and then, is her child support going to help cover enough of the expenses to help her stay there? Because that counts as income. Are there repairs that need to be done prior to the divorce so that she doesn't have to foot the bill after the fact? Um, and then, just lots of little scenarios like that. If she can't afford to stay, if she can't afford to maybe refi, or maybe they don't have the credit to refi, she can't qualify for a refi. So these are all things that people have to think about when they're going through this process. Does she have the money to buy out his half and give his equity to him? Does she have the assets to buy him out and stay there?
And
And
the judge gets to say in all of that too,
yeah, yeah. And if you
Yeah.
don't have the money to do that, you can't stay. If you don't have the credit to refi, it'll be really hard to refi, you know. I've seen some where the husband stayed on the note.
Yeah,
And just because he cared enough for her well-being and the well-being of the children, that he stayed on the note and they just worked through it, and for the benefit of the children. And that's fine as well. And I've been a receivership, been a receiver of a home where that was probably my hardest one. And the
mhm,
court appointed me as like a temporary owner of the
yeah,
home. And I took possession of the home and made decisions of the home on, just myself on behalf of what the courts needed me to do to get it sold.
right. How something like that is how long did you have to how long you were you the receivership for that?
Hmm. That was quite a bit. That was about 4 months,
Okay.
almost 5. And we had to go to court quite often. And it was really sad. I won't get into it too much, but husband moved out of state. She was still at the house. She didn't want to leave. She didn't want the divorce. She didn't want to leave the house. She was just total denial.
Mm,
And she needed to leave. She was not going to cooperate with the sale of the home because she didn't want to leave. And so she didn't come to the court hearings. She just total denial. And so we went to the court and asked to be receiver. and they appointed me as receiver. And it was very clear she was not going to cooperate with me.
Mm.
And long story short, I had to evict her out of her own home.
Oh, goodness.
Had to change the locks. So, yeah,
Goodness.
yeah,
Um,
it gets pretty extreme.
yeah, it does. Are you seeing you're not selling a home because you necessarily want to, um, but are you seeing them overestimating the home's worth?
hmm I think every seller,
Yeah,
always thinks that their home is, worth $1 million.
regardless of the circumstances. That yeah.
I think every
Yeah.
seller is like,
Well, I get it. My homes are worth a lot of money because of my memory, but those,
yeah, I
those
think a
don't
lot of
sell.
sellers feel that way. But
Right.
they're going through a lot of financial struggles. They've got court costs and attorney's fees, and
Yeah.
just it's just so much money, and
There's
so
a lot
they need
there.
that money back, and so yeah, it's like my house needs to sell for this much, so because I gotta get that money back, and I was like, well, here's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about those divorce decrees and real estate traps. How often do you see divorce decrees that aren't real estate friendly?
Um, I actually, I don't think I've really come across one yet, at least
No.
personally for me. But I know that they may not be real estate friendly in that, it could harm someone financially to stay there,
Yeah.
or it's going to affect them negatively in a financial way. And the attorneys may be advising them poorly, based on, they're not aware of their credit, and they're not
Mhm.
aware of their debt to income ratios, and they're not um, fully aware of what could happen if they sell the home, or I'm sorry, keep the home. And those would probably be the worst scenarios that where real estate can really get messy for during a divorce. And
Have you seen language in the divorce decrees that you could see are going to be potential problems later on?
I haven't personally come across that yet. No,
Okay,
no,
good.
I haven't. Most of the times the attorneys that I work with, they'll will bring things to my attention or ask me certain things. So I haven't really seen anything like that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so as a lender, we look at their total financial picture, and if
Mm-hmm.
I'm if I'm looking through real options for them, as a lender, I'd like to keep them in the same home.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to live there, and but we're going to look at the equity, and what might someone be able to do with that if not staying in the home is really a viable option. That maybe something like cleaning up their credit scores, their debt ratios, with the equity, and then using the equity to show them what they can qualify for.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, that's not, wiping them out each month. Um, that's something we would help navigate on the lending side. And then their purchasing power, you would help navigate finding the right home that fits that budget,
Mm-hmm.
start a new life. And you know, that's that's what we're here for.
Right.
Give them some
And
real
sometimes
solutions.
they want to get a new start. They just
Yeah,
have really bad memories in that house, and they're just like, you know what? I just want a fresh start. So
yeah. Well, have you ever, have they ever, oh, we'll refinance this property later and maybe one of them keeps the property. Do you see that working out? Is that on, have you seen them come back and like desperate to sell later on because a refinance wasn't an option?
Um, no, I mean, we pretty know right up front, based on how their equity is, what they're
Mhm.
getting in the divorce. We kind of know their financial situation pretty much by that point. 'Cause divorces take, you know, at least 6 to 8 months, if not longer. So we pretty much know, and everything is divulged so that we know, if they do refi, we're pretty certain that they're going to be able to long term stay there.
Right. That's
Mhm.
why I said get a realtor and a lender looped in um, to help create a clear path forward for you.
Right.
Um, yeah. So, how about post divorce? Buying a home. We're done with the divorce. We're
Mhm.
free and clear of the marital asset, and look, someone wants to go buy a home after that divorce. What are you seeing being some of their biggest hurdles?
Credit,
Credit,
credit, big hit after a divorce. Credit.
it is. What are the things that are causing those hits to their credit?
Um, a lot of it is credit card
Yeah.
and a dip in their credit score because and I know this firsthand from going through a divorce. You're so used to two incomes and you're
Uh-huh.
living in the same home and you're used to sharing those two incomes to live off of. And now all of a sudden, even though you might be staying in the same home and it looked like you were going to be able to stay there, or maybe you sold it and you bought a new one, but you're only down to one income now.
Yeah.
And it takes some adjustments to get to do that. And there is a time and a period of time that it does take an adjustment to learn how to live off of, half of what you used to. And you're used to
Right.
that lifestyle. And it does take some adjusting to kind of rein that back in again. So I think credit card is probably one of the biggest hits that happen to people,
Yeah.
which then is going to impact your credit score.
It is. You have on those credits, anything, well, state of Texas. If you're married in state of Texas, what's yours is hers and what's hers is yours to include debt. And
Mhm.
so if you've got a joint credit card and you cancel that out, or yeah, you get removed from it, you're if you cancel it, close it, or are removed from that line of credit, your debt to income ratios are gonna shift. Your
Mhm.
credit ratio is gonna shift because you're losing however old that credit card is, you're losing all that history
Yeah.
of on-time monthly payments.
Yeah.
You're losing all of the history, um, how the age of the credit, and
Mhm.
you're losing the amount of the credit. So if you had a $30,000 credit card and you lose that, um, you've just lost $30,000 of your credit.
Mhm.
And maybe you have that, and maybe you have one other card, for example, maybe a $5,000 credit card. Well, now you have your credit's been reduced to 5,000
Mhm.
and from 35,000.
Mhm.
You've lost all that history. And if that new card, that $5,000 credit card has maybe only a year's worth of history on it,
Yeah.
not a lot for them to score. So
Mhm.
that'll hurt your credit. That'll hurt all three bureaus will take a
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
Uh,
The
like
longevity of your credit history.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then if you go up above, your, what is it, 30% over your credit limit, it starts to drop your score. Isn't that correct?
yeah. That's the other thing. So you could have. So it's not 30% of each credit card per se, although that does have that's one way it is affecting. But if you let's say you've got a $10,000 credit card and a $30,000 credit card, and your $10,000 card, I'm doing live math, so this is going to be rough. So let's say you're using $8,000 of credit on that $10,000 card. You're
Mhm.
not sell, but overall you have $40,000 worth of credit, and of that 40,000, you're only using 20%, 25%. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, or 20%, 8,000. So if you lose that card that you're no longer on, that's at 30,000, your credit now you lose that. So now your credit limit is 10,000 and you're at 80% maxed out on your credit. And so that's what a lender, the credit bureaus look at, and they see that you're over 30, you're definitely over 50. Individually, you're almost maxed out on that credit card, but individually or collectively, you're almost maxed out on all of your debt,
Mhm.
or all of your credit,
Yeah.
or so you'll lose 100 points easily,
Mhm.
um, on your FICO scores. So yeah, the credit cards can have a big hit. Um, you know,
Yeah.
so keep them
Now, one
low.
thing I just learned recently too is, and I wasn't fully aware of this, which is funny because I just learned about this, that you have actually two credit scores when you go to buy a house. You have um, like your credit card credit score, but then you also have a housing credit score.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them.
And they're different, they're
They're
scored
different.
differently. And I
Yeah,
always thought it was just the three bureaus and that was your credit score, but
yeah.
it's not. You have the three bureaus, but then you also have a housing credit score too.
Yeah, they got a credit scoring scenario for everything. It's like when they're look at their credit karma,
Yeah.
credit summary, fill in the blank, whichever one, wherever they're going to see their credit. Most of them are there to sell credit cards or other installment plans, so they don't divulge the housing one specifically. And so, the tri-merge credit report that housing use, there's a new one coming out, but it's about the same. Um, you're the one specific to housing, it's scored differently. It's recorded
Mhm.
specifically to housing, so it doesn't have the same effect as when someone gets their credit pulled to go look at getting a new car or a
Yeah.
credit card or an installment plan at the local appliance store or what have you. Those are all categorized different. Same as if you went to a boat or an RV, totally different.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so for the housing one, it's very specific. Um,
Yeah.
so other things that would post post divorce when they're looking at purchasing a home, they may get child support now, or they may have to pay child support. Same with alimony. If that's in the divorce decree, those income streams or those liabilities, depending on how that's decreed,
Mhm.
uh, will count against or for the borrower, and
Mhm.
even some of that has an exception. So the lenders generally they like to see that there's going to be 3 years continuance. And
Mhm.
if you have a 16-year-old that's emancipated at 18, and they're no longer dependent, but they're paying someone's paying child support. That since they're less than 3 years, they're not going to be that income's not going to be allowed in the calculation for housing, whereas their household income it is, but not from a lender's perspective. So that's some nuance there. But if you got 3 years or more continuance on the child support and the alimony,
Mhm.
that income can be included in scoring a loan and
Mhm.
qualifying what and how much home one can afford to purchase
Yeah.
and pay for each month.
Yeah.
Um, what can people do now to prepare? If they know they're going to go through a divorce, or after they finalize the divorce and they're thinking about housing, what are some things that they can do to help set them up for success in purchasing a new home?
Sure. If they're thinking about going through divorce, really sit down and think, um, can I afford to get divorced? Now that's very, it's different if you're in a really bad situation,
Yeah,
then obviously, you need to take care of yourself and your family. But if it's just that, you're angry and, you know, um, can if you cannot afford to get divorced, can you just hold off a little bit longer and get yourself into a situation where you can be ready? Because finances is going to take a huge hit. That's the first thing is
okay.
think about your finances. And where am I going to go?
Mhm.
Can I stay? If I can stay, can I afford it? Um, if I can't stay, where can I go? What can I realistically afford? And then you really have to take a hard look at your finances. And, how much do you owe on credit cards, car payments, anything else that you have out there? And,
Yeah,
that's where financial planners come in. That's where talking with a lender comes in well in advance so that you don't have to make these decisions in a rush and during the heat of the divorce while it's going on. So really approach it logically and slowly is what I recommend. And that's hard to do when you're
yeah,
going through a lot of emotion. And that's where, us that are trained in this kind of help you and say, I'm not here to be your counselor. I understand, but I'm not here to be your counselor. I'm here to help you navigate this transaction in the what's in your best interest.
right.
And that's what we have to do. And that's why I have a team of people. I have lenders who specialize in this. I have financial planners that specialize in this so that we can all get together and decide what's best for this person and what's the best scenario for them. So finances is going to be the big one. Can I
Yeah,
afford to do it? And then what's the options for me based on my financial situation?
right. Let's shift gears a little bit, talk about selling during a divorce. Things that help and hurt. What makes a divorce related sale smoother? There's
Uh,
things.
Stay level-headed. Don't be spiteful. You know, just step back for a minute, take a breath. If you can't have a rational discussion, just hang up the phone, walk away, go for a walk, come back to it later. So many bad decisions have been made during a divorce because they were just in the heat of the moment, and they made some really bad decisions. It
Mm,
hurt them in the long run. So just try to stay level-headed, and if you can't, just step back and come back in a couple hours or next day and work at it again.
so how do you handle things like disagreements in price? So we're forcing the sale of a home, if we,
Hmm.
whoever. Um, what like the is do you see disagreements in the value, the pricing
Hmm.
of it?
All the
One
time.
thing different, yeah.
All the time, all the time. And I had one couple, and yeah, I mean, they thought it was going to be, about $400,000 more than what I was pulling from the neighborhood. And
Hmm.
I said, well, look, this is what's selling in your neighborhood. Tell me why you think your home is worth $400,000 more than all
Yeah.
the other ones in the neighborhood. It's like, show me. Did you do updates or things that I don't know about? So, and then if they're like, well, no, we need the money. And I'm like, well, yeah, I understand that. I said, but the facts are the facts. And at the end of the day, this has to appraise for whoever's going to buy it. And
Will they go and get an appraisal, or do they wait for the buyers to get an appraisal?
I mean, you can have an appraisal done beforehand, especially if it's going to be a home that has very specific or special qualities to it. That might be a little bit more difficult to price out. Then I would get an appraisal done beforehand. Or if the attorneys just want to have a solid number in place ahead of time to work from, then we'll say, okay, well, let's get an appraisal and it'll come out of the proceeds from the divorce. But appraisals have to be paid for up front. So it's like, okay, well, Mr. and Mrs. are going to split the cost and we'll get the appraisal done now. Um, but we also know that each appraiser is different. Just like
Sure.
every realtor is that, it has different opinions of value too, based on the house we used and the time and different aspects. So every appraiser is going to be a little different as well.
Right. Does
But they should
timing
be in
get,
the ballpark.
yeah, they should be pretty close.
Yeah.
Uh, markets do change, but
Yeah.
um, timing, does that play a role in this? Is it, I always hear there's best times of years to buy a house and sell a house, but when
Hmm.
when the big D is in town, would you may not you the timing of it may be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Just it's got to sell or you got to purchase.
Yeah. Timing, it's really just how the process is going,
Yeah.
and how the court proceedings are going and when your hearing is, and it's really driven by the speed of the attorneys in the court process. Really.
Do do the does the divorcing couple get a say in who the realtor is, or is that presented? Is the when when are you, the realtor, brought into this process? Um, is it court ordered? Is it an attorney reaches out to you and say, "Hey, we've got a situation here. We want you to be the realtor to help resolve
Mhm.
selling the asset or help the borrowers find a new home." Is that, or is it the spouse or one of the two spouses that is reaching out to you, or all of the above?
Yeah, it can be all the above. I mean, if they're going through a pretty amicable divorce, and maybe
Yeah.
they have a realtor that they've used on previous properties and they like that realtor, and they can agree on using them, then that's fine. Reach out to them, him, her, and use them. Most of the times, the cases that I've done have been because they could not agree.
Uh-huh.
And so there is a mediator that I work with,
Okay.
and fantastic. And when they're having issues and they can't agree to anything, he'll come in and say, all right, well, I have someone that I have used. I trust her. I know her. She gets it done. And we're going to put it in a decree that you are to use her.
Right.
And
Well, let me
then,
ask you this: as a realtor, in a normal transaction, I hate saying normal in a transaction that's not a divorce, couples buying a home or they're selling a home, you're representing both of them,
mhm,
presumably,
mhm,
in in that transaction. How
mhm.
about in a divorce situation? Are you representing the mediator is it both the both spouses, or is it who's actually on title and mortgage? Does that how does that play out for you?
So, if I am assigned to somebody because obviously they couldn't come to an agreement,
Uh-huh.
um, I would represent both of them. If they
Okay.
came to an agreement and they called me, I would represent both. If they couldn't come to an agreement and a mediator said we're going to use her, I would represent both. And I have successfully.
Okay.
However, I established something right up front with both of them. And I
My next
said,
question.
I am here for you both, and I am a neutral third party. My interest is to get the house sold for you quickly and as much as I can. I said, I am not going to talk to one spouse about the other, and vice versa. I'm not going to talk to the other spouse about this one. I said, whatever you tell me, it's not going to the other side. I said, however, I'm not your counselor either. I'm here to do
Yeah.
a job, and that's to sell your house.
And
Most
you
of the
said
time, they wind up complaining and bitching
right.
and
Yeah.
and they talk my ear off all the time. But I am a
Everybody's got a
fiduciary.
story.
Yeah, I'm
That's
a
right. You're a
fiduciary, and I
fiduciary
have
responsibility.
to be neutral to both sides, and I lay that right out front.
Good. Tell me, let's say some advice to listeners. Um, you know, if someone's listening, is in the middle of it right now, I mean, they're in the middle of it. What do you want them to hear?
There is hope. You can make it through. Um, just stay level-headed as best as you can. Remember, at one point, you asked this person to marry you, or you said yes when this person asked you to marry them. So at one point, you did love each other. And just keep that in the back of your head. You have a history together. It hasn't been all bad. And unfortunately, it's taken a turn. But that doesn't mean that you just need to have the claws out and go at them. Stay level-headed, stay cool. We'll get through this. And then you can, you know, start over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really, really hard. But
Yeah.
compassion,
Is it,
understanding, level-headed, um, you'll get through it.
is there anything from what you've seen that, like, what's one thing that they don't have to rush?
Um, don't don't rush the process. You know, people just say, I just want this done. I just want this over.
Hmm.
Just whatever. Just get it done with. I don't care. I'm like, well, you do have to care because this is your future and it is going to impact you significantly.
Yeah.
Um, so just take day by day. Just don't rush the process. Don't rush any of it. Is probably my biggest takeaway on that. And take your
How
time.
do you how do you define a successful quote unquote outcome in these situations?
Successful for me would be that they were able to keep level-headed, speak to me, and make decisions with me or the three of us, and stay positive, stay in your lane and stay positive, and you'll get through it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I think of the ones I've closed or helped navigate the financial part of it,
mhm,
in new homes, new to them homes, um, hearing what their goal is and getting them there.
mhm,
I was always telling them, look, this, unless it's anybody that gets a new home. is, this is a new chapter. This is a new beginning for you.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot
Yeah.
of opportunity in that. And it can be scary, but you got a great realtor and a great lender helping you.
Yeah.
Uh, Professionally, let's see. Who's the right who's the right person to reach out to you if we're talking specifically about divorce and real estate?
The right person to reach out to me. Always attorneys and mediators. If you're finding that you're having um, problems with marital assets, the house, things like that. But
Yeah,
then also for the consumer, the homeowner, um, reach out when you think things might be starting to go that way. Before you start getting into the thick of it all.
right,
And get some really good advice. Do your homework. Get some knowledge to help answer some of your questions. I think a lot of times people, they'll get into arguments, they're upset, they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to get a divorce. And then they just start getting really irrational after that. And they never become grounded again. It's just all emotion from until they're done. And
right,
like, if you think you're even starting to go that route, let's get you educated on what you're about to go through. And then they might realize a few things that might either make them go another route or, at least help them start the process on a sure foot, so that they don't make the mistakes that can happen.
right.
So
So
education.
what does that initial conversation with them look like to you?
Um, well, I'd be like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm sorry that you're potentially maybe going through a divorce. Let's talk about your options. Are you planning to stay in the home? Are you planning to sell the home? Was the home maybe inherited? Because if it's inherited, you're not going to get anything from the equity of the home because it wasn't your home. If it was, gifted to him and it came from down the road, it's in their name, that person's name. It's not spousal community, it's not spousal community property. So there are certain things that we need to know up front. So, understanding that, and then let's say your finances. Let's talk about your finances. Look at your finances. What's your credit like? What are your bills like? Are you going to be getting alimony? Do you have a job that has health care so that you can, is your spouse going to be, what's your healthcare situation? Everything. You got to look at everything and say, okay, now realistically, what do we want to do from here? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have a game plan. And so a lot of times they see it might be too daunting and they'll be like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to go this route. Maybe we're just going to go to counseling for a while, you know. This is just too much. I think we're going to try counseling. Uh,
Yeah,
or, just like I said earlier, just to educate them on what's coming up, what's coming down the road.
yeah.
This is what you're going to be facing, and this is what's going to happen. Are you ready to do this? Do you have the ability to do it? And educate them in the beginning so they can make those good decisions.
Hey, if someone, let's see if anybody out there is someone is navigating a divorce or a home decision, and this is exactly the conversation they need to have with Kristine. Kristine, how can someone reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So you can reach out to me through my phone number. 940-597-7503. My website, KristineSellsTexas.com, or you can Google me. There's lots of ways on social media to find me. Just message me and we'll get in touch with you.
I'll put those links. I'll attach those links to this podcast. If you're listening it or watching, it'll be down below. All right, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. You can get Kristine on the real estate piece of it, and myself as a lender to help you navigate this. A challenging time in life. It is just it's temporary. It's not forever. It will pass. And we're here to help you do that. Kristine, thanks for meeting with me and talking about a heavy topic. And you've been a real estate agent for many years, and this is something you do, and you are a problem solver for people. So I highly recommend people reach out to you for their real estate needs. And I think that's going to wrap us up for this episode of Between Two Doors. Kristine, thank you for meeting with me again.
Sure, you're welcome. Thanks, Nate.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.